Hey friends, if there's anybody here, please give me a verification on the audio. I will do it on my phone. Figure we start a little early today. Let's jump over to my channel. Anybody here? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can hear myself.
Hello, hello.
Look at that.
Yeah, I can hear myself.
Beautiful. Hey, everybody's coming in. I'm gonna shut this window, and somebody said last week, they're like, you need an air conditioner in there. I was like, I'm one of those guys, like, it has to be June before I turn the air conditioner on. It's not like, I come from a place where my parents always had the thermostat set on the same spot. They're like, who touched the thermostat? But we had the Blue Angels fly over today too. That was pretty cool, and you could hear them. Hey, thanks, baby. Appreciate you saying all your videos good. I did plenty of testing beforehand. It's great to see everybody. If you're coming over from Eric Andreas's channel, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining me. Eric is just not only a stellar guitar player and teacher, he's just a wonderful friend and human. He's been so helpful to me in my career thus far. And I always like to stop in and say hi to you guys, let you know that I'm coming on. And here we are. Got my water, as far as you know. Lots of stuff today. Lots of really fun stuff. I'm going to teach you what I like to call blues by yourself, that kind of stuff, where you're going to be able to I get this question a lot, where somebody's like, I just want to sit down and kind of play a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of lead, interweave the two forms of guitar playing, so it becomes one almost song by myself. And I thought the best way to do that was just to kind of write something simple, and I'll make it available to you guys like I always do. I got up early this morning and I put a nice chart together. Greg had the Blue Angels on Tuesday. Cool. So they're making their way around. That's awesome. So we're going to do a blues by yourself. I call it blues by your lonesome. You're going to have a chart. I think I actually managed to, look at that. You get a little chart today. You're going to have a couple pages of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tonic lines in a 12-bar blues, but then also comp chords at the same time. I knew somebody was going to say playing with yourself. That's why I just let that door wide open to you. So there's lots of other business. You'll see my links start to come up here in the chat, thanks to our good friend at BB Ninja. There'll be plenty of links for my website, my courses. If you choose to support the channel with a tip or a merchandise purchase, you'll see links for that as well. It's always in the description. A lot of the gear I own, I put into the description as well. Because if you want to check it out, it'll take you right to an Amazon link, which is really cool. So we got that, and then I want to jump out a little early today and start to prepare for a back-to-back of sorts live stream with TrueFire, and we're going to be talking about PRS guitars. I'll be joining them in addition to the wonderful David Grissom and Tony McManus, not at the same time, but concurrently, so it'll be a lot of fun. I got my PRSs here. I got a little stable of them, and I've been playing this one in some of the videos you've seen me do. It's good for just sort of that old time, nice warm and brown kind of P90 sound. So let's talk about this blues by your lonesome that I'm going to do. I'm just going to play through a little bit of it. The tab may or may not be exactly what I play, but it should be pretty darn close. So it's going to be somewhere around here, like a 1. Oh, let's talk about the tone real quick. I wanted this tone to be kind of old-timey. When I think about old guitar tones, I think about Tweed amplifiers. The Fender Tweed is a different kind of circuit than more of the Blackface Princeton or Deluxe. It's really brittle sounding. We'll mess around with that later. And I thought, when you're playing by yourself, it's nice to have some atmosphere. It's nice to have some tremolo. Yeah. Got lots of reverb. I have a great spring reverb back there I'm playing. And I have a pretty cool slap echo going too. All right, so let's go to the key of G. And we'll try this kind of blues by yourself. We'll go to the middle pickup. So it's kind of bright, but kind of full at the same time. These are, Richard, I'll answer this real quick since I see it. These are Lindy Fralin noiseless P90s. Yeah, definitely a CCR type of sound. Yeah, like a little run through the jungle or something like that. So this little thing I'm going to send you guys, or you can actually get the tab if you email me. In the future, I'm going to make a link where all the tabs for all these things will live. Just one thing at a time. We got to keep adding to the outfit here. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start it. I'll talk about it once I play it. Okay, Blues by Your Lonesome. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that kind of thing, I think, is a lot of fun. The video is vibrating. Yeah, I'm tapping my foot. Sorry about that. Let's do it one more time. 2, 3. So hopefully it didn't jump around on that one too much. Hopefully it was clear for you guys. But I'm just getting in the groove, so it's making the table move a little bit. Sorry about that. So here's the thing. I incorporated a lot of different stuff here. And what I incorporated was not just only some single pentatonic stuff, but how you can start to actually use some of your chord voicings as well, okay? So let's take a look here at the first little part of it. You may or may not be able to see that. I'm going to take a look once it comes up live. And yeah, so what's happening here is, let's go back to my camera view. I start out with not only being in the key of G, so I'm going to think about G7, C7, and C9. And let's go back to my other camera view here. You know, but we have G7, C9, I have a C7, I have a D9, then a C9, and then a G7. Great, thanks, Bevy. I'll go back to the chart here in a moment. So, I'm also going to throw in this G7 chord, which is one of my favorites. And it gives you more of that CCR sound, like what somebody was talking about before. If you take it, because it's exactly where it is. It's if you take an E7, in that chord you'd play all of the, all of the notes. But move it up here to where the G note on the 4th string is on the 5th fret. Don't play the 6th string and don't play the 1st string, and you got my favorite G7 chord, or 7th shape. I love to play in the middle four sets of strings there, the middle 4 strings. So I started out with what's called a pickup note, and if you don't know what a pickup note is, it's the beats before beat 1. Okay, so I got to make sure I'm looking at the right camera here. Yeah, so it's the beats before beat 1. So I always count it like this. If the drummer goes 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, digga 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 digga, that drum fill are pickup notes. 1, 2, 3, and a 4 and a, So what I did in this one is I went 1, 2, 3, and that little pickup note there is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and you'll see it here in the chart, in the very first part here, right by the measure, the first measure there. It's not even a first measure; it's called a pickup measure, and it won't have, it'll have any number of beats other than 4. In that one, it has 1 or 3, it has and 4 and, yeah. So I don't want to get too crazy with you guys that aren't fans of reading, but see my hands. So 1, 2, 3. Then I go right to the G chord. I'll turn the trem off for now. So 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to do the same lick again, but I landed on the C9. I think I might have said D before, sorry. And then that gives me the root note just for that chord. So the first part. Now we have an opportunity here where there's 2 bars that play the same chord, so we can try another chord shape, but keep the idea going. My favorite. Okay, so that's a fun little measure there. Another measure. So you see how I'm doing this G7? So that this note is the highest note in that first G7 shape. And this note is the highest note. So it's got its own little melody happening there. Then we want to go to the 4 chord. And I did the same thing again. What I did there is play the C9, then a C7. So a lot of people will say, I have trouble using different chord shapes. I don't know what to use when, where, etc., etc. This is a perfect example. Chords have their own sort of melody within them. And somebody said earlier, is this like a call and response kind of thing? Yeah, it's a fun way to do a call and response and to kind of play blues by yourself. So, so there I stay right on the G chord. I see Eric jumped in, throwing the fire. Thanks everybody for coming over from his stream. We have a lot of fun here every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, talking about all kinds of stuff. The blues stuff has just been so fun lately because I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it. And especially last week's arpeggio lesson, like I've gotten a crap ton of emails. People really loved it. I sent out a bunch of PDFs. If you're watching any of the old broadcasts or any of my YouTube videos where there's a PDF available or a tab or a track, let me know. I'll send it to you. Okay, so that takes us to the 4 chord. Then what I did is I played, in the chart, you'll see that there's a... that kind of idea. Now that really just gives us a... it's straight in the pentatonic. And what I did there is I approached approach that D9 from a half step below, then I can go back. And what you'll see here in the chart, it's really important to check this out. I don't think that one's it. Let's see if we can do it here. No. There we go. Let's try that. So if you look in bar where there's the D9 and the C9 and the D9, you'll see how long that they sustain for. And that's really important because, and especially when you have the tremolo on, so the last 3 bars of that, and what I also want you to notice in that is that when we see the double bar line, that is where the 12 bar starts over. And now I think once the new 12 bar begins, now we have in the major pentatonic. So it's these 2 notes, and we get a really great flat, we get a flat 3, and then we get that 13 there too. Don't worry about those chord tones if you don't know them. Just know the sound. I knew the sound way before I knew what they were called, that's for sure. And what's important is if you look at, back to the chart, there we go, back where the double bar line is, you'll notice that I start on the downbeat. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. So over that, we're going to play this idea. We're going to bar those 2 strings. Then we skip down. So we bar the top 2 strings there, and then we go to the 5th fret, 4th string, that's your G, that's your root note. Then we grab the 3rd and 4th strings on the 5th fret. Then on my favorite moves there, which is the 3rd fret. So if I'm playing that B flat and that D there on the 3rd fret, doing that gives me what's called the major 3rd, and you can see that that lives right inside the G chord. I'll go over this slowly one more time, so just hang in there. And then I finish it with that little minor pentatonic riff, which is F to G. And again, what we'll do, like in other lessons, we'll talk about how we can take apart some of those little riffs and just make solos out of them themselves. All right, so let's talk about finishing the rest of that part up right now. So I got 2 cameras and tab going on here, so forgive me if I don't look right at you. And somebody I just noticed, they said, is the tab anywhere? What you'll do is just jump on my website link, shoot me a message, and you'll get this tab. What I'm doing is I'm just throwing it up on the screen when it's applicable, or applicable. Okay, so we got, let's go over that 1 chord riff again here. So what you want to really do is try to see that pentatonic scale. If that's the only one you know, that's okay, because we're going to throw in this note here, which is an E on the 5th fret, 2nd string. What I like to do for that stuff, if I really want to get it Stevie Ray sounding or any kind of authentic blues sound, I try to really bend the strings ever so slightly, like a quarter step. That's a great lick on its own. 3, 4. Okay, so that's how that riff goes. Remember to skip to the 4th string. They come down and bar the 5th fret, 2nd and 3rd strings. Bar the 3rd fret, And get used to that. That's going to be a huge blues move for you. You're going to be playing a lot of... So I want you to get used to that once you see it in the tab when you get it from me. Work on that because you want these notes ringing and then you want this note ringing. But you still want that 3rd fret note, that D on the 2nd string 3rd fret, because that makes a really great harmonious little major 3rd sound against that. Now, what we're going to do is walk right into the 4-chord lick now. And if you're getting here late, all this stuff, you can watch it later. You can email me for the tab. You know, you'll get up to speed, no problem. The 4-chord, what I love about blues playing and what I love about improvising and stuff is trying to be repetitive, you know, and over the 1 chord we played it again. To the 4 chord, we're going to play the same idea. But we're going to finish it a little different. And when we do that, what's going to happen is you're going to go start on that 4th string again. And that 4th string is that G note. Back to that bar on the, I'll try not to talk and play at the same time, sorry. On the 3rd string and 2nd string, 3rd fret. Then you fall down and bend the same strings on the 5th fret. And I want you to be able to see that it's all in the pentatonic. So from the 1 chord, we have this 3, 4. 4 chord. Then I want you to play the same thing again for the 1 chord. Okay, so now the 5 chord comes around, and we're going to go. And what we're going to do is now we're going to launch into pattern number 2 of the G minor pentatonic. But we're really just going on that classic double stop here. Sorry the birds throw you a little bit. You know, sometimes it's hard to see with these birds because they're fancy looking. But we're on the 7th and 6th frets here. And if you have a little G, if you have a looper or something that you can play just a G7, I'll loop a G riff real quick. Here, that works really well. So when we get to the turnaround, and I'll play the... See, that's all going to work really well. Okay, so again, that turnaround lick. Now when it comes to that, I thought I'd put that in there. It's a fun little walk down that everybody should probably at least try. Now when you're here, you can decide to go. Then what I do is switch my fingering. What you could do though is if you knew you were going there, you could put your 3rd finger and your pinky there and it sets you up nicely. That's a tough one to get, but you could do that and incorporate it in a lot of different ways in the future. And again, if you're just joining us, what we're talking about today is how to kind of play call and response with rhythm and lead playing, and how to kind of play the blues by yourself a little bit. We could do this every week and come up with something new. It's really cool. And I have a lot of other ways that I incorporate this thing into playing other styles as opposed to just playing blues, you know. So let's recap for the folks that are just joining us. There's going to be a tab. I have an echo. There's an echo on my voice and guitar. Is that new? I don't know if the echo's new or not. Maybe there was a streaming thing going on. Was it always there, guys? I don't know. Let me know. I have my phone off. Yeah, it's let's make sure this other mic is on. You know, if it sounds like underwater and that kind of stuff, guys, that's a streaming thing and an internet thing that I don't have a whole lot of control over. I have the, you know, it's happened a few minutes ago, just started. No, there's reverb on your voice, but I can understand you just fine. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Let me take a look at my. I don't have any reverb on anything. Everything's pretty dry, and I'm hearing it directly from what. It's probably a latency thing, Thomas. You're right. If it sounds underwater or like there's any kind of effects, that is nothing I can do about it. Let's see. Not using my iPad, Larry. Sorry. I'm doing a pretty elaborate thing using OBS, and let me just jump into OBS and see if there's. Let's just jump into some settings here real quick. It's gonna happen. Thankfully, it didn't happen all the time. Any better? Any better? Let me know if it's any better. Thanks, guys, for helping me troubleshoot. And it's funny because you know it just happens. It kind of comes up randomly. There's no rhyme or reason to some of the things that we have to endure here. Any better? Any better? It's worse. No, it's worse. Better. Worse. See, it's better for some people and worse for others. So it went back to, now the echo got longer. Thanks, Jason. See, what's funny is some of it will be worse for some of you and not for others. So let me do one more thing. I'll change a couple things. And we'll roll with it. We'll see what it. I do use it. This is a mono microphone, thanks, Richard. This is a mono mic, and it's going into my audio, my Apollo. And trust me, guys, we do like so much research on trying to get this stuff. So, yeah. So yeah, you know, hey, spinning a lot of plates, not nervous about it. Remember when last week when it didn't sound, we didn't have any sound at all? Okay, so I'm just gonna plow through it, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that turnaround. That's such a fun, little turnaround. You know, you can do these on any place where you find the fifth and the root on the bottom there. So that's D with a G. Then you move that fifth down in half steps. You could do it here. Very much that'll be the day. Let's see. Any place that you have the G with the D on the top, it's a great little spot for it. So yeah, so there you have it, kind of blues by yourself. You could also do it, once you get better at it, I would say that you could start experimenting. You know, if you're in G and you pick a shuffle tempo, you go 1, 2, 3. Stuff like that. That's kind of what I love to do. You start to put on maybe a different sound. We went through the tremolo. I don't want to jinx us with the delay, but we did have some fun. And I have this pool pedal. Let's see if I can, let's talk about some of my pedals here today. This pedal's cool. I got my signature slippers on. That blue pedal that's on, that's the Greer Tomahawk. And that really kind of sounds like an old tweed amp. And I love that thing. That's a cool pedal for sure. And I'll turn it up a little bit. Yeah. It really kind of acts like an amplifier. It's pretty darn cool. Let's have a look at some questions, man. You guys are awesome today. Thanks, Derek. We'll check on it for sure. Hey, Esther, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. What do I recommend for a looper? I use the Ditto X2 from TC Electronic. I like the simpler the looper, the better for me. And the cool thing about that one is you can program the buttons to do a number of different things. And it is, it's just easy, and it's, you can program it to save loops. You can program it to be just loop and stop and erase. That's all I need. I need a simple looper. Hey, thanks, Jason. Good to see you back here again. So Lemuel says, excellent, but way out of my reach. Well, tell me what's in your reach. We'd love to help. And I think a lot of this is other, a lot of discussion on the sound. And Lemuel says, sorry to interrupt you, but can you give a brief overview of what's in my complete blues volume 1? Absolutely. So what's in that course is 5 styles, all with rhythm and lead applications for each. So there's like a modern funk with a bridge, almost like a modern fusion kind of thing, and then you have your Texas blues, you have slow, you have a shuffle, classic Stevie Ray kind of stuff, and then you have 2 Chicago, you have a minor and a shuffle, and then you have a jump blues. And the jump blues is really fun because it really bridges a gap to that major minor pentatonic stuff that I really love to do. Let me, my hair's stuck in there. Yeah. So that's what's in there. Now the cool thing about that course is most guitar courses, when they're either rhythm or lead based. So Brett Papa and I, we said, let's put a course together that covers not only the lead you're playing in the course, but what rhythms are you playing over? And if it was a rhythm course, could you play lead over that? Because people ask me all the time. I have those fake book courses and stuff, and they always say to me, "Hey, could you play a lead over this, over these tunes? Over these blues fake book songs?" That was actually coming very soon until our quarantine life happened. Hey, Derek, thanks for your updates. If it's going in and out, I'm not sure what I could do. Again, I have a hard line wired, so we're doing the best we can. Hey, thanks, Larry. Good to see you here, man. Glad you love that turnaround lick. And Lemuel, the course that you're talking about is geared towards both rhythm and lead players. And there's categories. So each solo in each rhythm pass actually gets more difficult as you go through it. So you could take the first one of each one and have plenty to chew on for a long, long time. I decided to do it like that so that there was, it's a little more expensive than most of my other courses, but I think it's a lot of information that will keep you going for a while. So great question, and the links are flying in there for sure. Yeah, Jason, you're right. I'm live on TrueFire after this is over, talking about PRS guitars with David Grissom and Tony McManus as well. Those guys are monsters, and I'm honored to be in their freaking presence because they're so good. I even got my David Grissom guitar there. Let's see. How often am I thinking of modes when I'm playing? James, great question. Probably never. I am not the most modal player. What I do is I'm more of what I heard. I think it wasn't Charlie Banakis. It was a famous guitar, because he's a piano player, I believe. But jazz instructor, I'll think of his name, and he said, Mick Goodrick, he said there's like modal playing and key center, and they're both kind of the same. They get you to kind of the same thing in a lot of ways. Not blanket statement, but what I do is I try to think of the key and the chords, the chords I'm playing over, and arpeggios for those chords. And that usually helps me, because when you're playing in a jazz sort of situation, jazz tunes, like jazz standards, will often be going by really quickly, like... So you need to be thinking about, let me change the settings here, what key you're playing as it goes through. You know, jazz numbers, they change keys relatively quickly. So that's kind of how I learned, whereas a lot of times the modal thing, where you're just playing sort of over one chord, for instance, like if I'm playing a B minor 7, I can play the Dorian, but I might also play more of the natural minor in blues. And I'll also be thinking of the relative major as well. So if it's a one chord vamp like that with a B minor, I'm also thinking really much, a lot, sorry guys, I can't talk today. I'm thinking a lot in the key of D major. So I'll play a lot of D major ideas over that, because B minor is the relative minor of D, okay? So I'm often thinking key center, I'm also often thinking arpeggio and scale, yeah, please like and subscribe. Check out the stream. The chat, there's always links in there. My ninja brother is doing a wonderful job as always. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. There's 179 of you at any one particular time. That's fantastic. Great to see you. You've been working on all the things you are, and there's a lot of changes in that puppy. Absolutely, John. There sure is. And, I don't play a lot of jazz standards anymore. I could never remember all the melodies, so I just never did. If you're looking for a modal player, David Wallerman is a great teacher here on YouTube. He is, and my good buddy Robbie Calvo, in my opinion, teaches modes better than anybody, so much so that I have watched his courses many times. Robert Baker recently said he didn't know the cage system. It goes to show we don't need it all. That's true. I'm not a caged player, because to me, it's more arpeggio thing. Think about this. It's like, it's a hard enough time to speak one language one way. So you're trying to learn 3 different ways to speak it. And, I just had an interview that I'll be editing with Tim Pierce to put on my YouTube channel. And he talks about his 3 things that he always thinks about, and which is his nursery rhyme melodies, his blues playing, and then sort of his basic sort of licks for flash that he has, and it's in little parts and things like that. He's managed to make a darn good career out of it. How do you do a solo when you want to hit right blues rhythm on yourself? Especially when I do a longer solo, I run out of timing. That is a good question. I'm not sure I totally understand it. If you run out of timing, it might mean that you're not kind of adhering to the groove enough, or you might not be counting. Not that you have to count, but you need to be paying attention of chords and measures going by in a very loose manner. It doesn't have to be super rigid so that you sound like you're just kind of talking to people with your face in a book. You know, you want to be able to be loose and free, but you want to be feeling those rhythms go by and those measures, which is why 12-bar blues works so well. Really, it does, because it teaches you how to feel measures go by. It's really important. Let's see. Hey, Addie, thanks so much. That's awesome of you to drop me a little tip there. Fantastic. Let me look at some of these other questions. Said, how many times a stream do I change my lights in the background? It's a quest. I'm constantly seeking to make it look as good as possible. I just did something simple by pushing my computer back on the desk a little bit more, and I was able to kind of like, I can even push the camera back a little and just give myself a little more depth of field. Everybody's been saying that they really think it looks great, so I'm really into it. I think it's looking good these days. You know, I love that out of focus thing in the back, and I play around with lights all the time. I have those little LED candles back there. They're a lot of fun. I just want it to be a cool vibe for us all, really. Is that rhythm possible to play and sing? Richard, I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but I would love to help you. Oh, great to see Steve here. He says 50 blues rhythm and Texas rhythm made the biggest difference in his playing. That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much. Just out of yoga mat, it'll be very zen. And now you're talking to like my buddy Brett Papa. I do have a yoga mat in the other room. I got my salt lamp there. A couple other LED lights sitting on top of my rock there. Oh, thanks, Addie. You can tip if you'd like. If not, the information's here for you. There's all kinds of stuff in the descriptions as well. How can I start to play the melody that I can sing, hum on the guitar to make my solos more vocal? Amazing question. We'll get to that here in a minute. Love your vibrato, feel, and tone. Could you give us some tips, exercises, how to improve them? I will get back to you about the singing thing. So the vibrato thing, I've never done this in a live stream, so let's do it. And let me adjust my camera here for you guys real quick. My favorite thing to do is go to an A note on the 10th fret, 2nd string. I learned this from Arlen Roth years ago, and I've been teaching it ever since. You see how my finger here is parallel, is at an angle here, not parallel, but it's up right up against the guitar neck. And if I push the finger down really hard, and I show you that, you see there's a little indentation there, okay? That's what we want. So we're going to play that, and what we're going to do is when we play that string, we're going to pull the string down, and then we're going to let it go. But we're not going to take our finger off of it. And we don't force it back up. The string always wants to go back to where it's tuned, right? Because it's super tight. So if we do that, we create, for you, I guess it's geometry or whatever, it's from what I understand, a fulcrum that happens here. And you're pushing up and pulling down, and this is a great way to practice. So you get this sort of sound. And when you get that, I like to put my 2nd finger in front. And this is, I'm doing a sped up version, obviously. And then my 3rd finger. And then my pinky. It might not sound very musical, but it's good because you're going to need all those. So when you're down here, see that my fingers stay the same? Then when I go to my 3rd, because you see when I play, see how my fingers don't leave the guitar very much? I don't go, I don't do that, I go. I want that vibrato to be there at a moment's notice. Now sometimes I might push up, but it's the same kind of idea. And what I'll do is I'll keep other fingers around to keep that one silent that was ringing. See how I'm pulling down? you can kind of go back and do that's how you get your Stevie Ray Vaughan. You start to really feel where it's in tune. There you go. There's a little vibrato lesson for you. More on that later. Let's see. Let's go here. It's very personal thing. Everyone they do have their own signature vibrato. You know, Clapton has more of that sort of. Yeah. Where Stevie Ray has more of that. Yeah, vibrato is so important and so signature for sure. You know, let's see some other stuff coming in here. Oh, thanks for digging the slow blues course. The truth is it the GLH 1956? Which course is it? I appreciate you checking it out regardless. Let's see here. Well, you guys are talking amongst yourselves and answering your own questions. This is awesome. And we want to go back to the question about singing. Okay, I do that all the time. So, hey Toby, we've been getting a lot of comments about the stream today. It's not as clean as it usually is. Sorry about that. Hopefully when it uploads, that might change. Could be a lot of people on the internet today. Who knows? So, if I was to create a groove, let's say here, we'll just play like a little funky vamp in A. I've noticed that when I sing and play at the same time, it really, really helps me. And I'll get into that later. Here we go. So we'll play something in A. 3, 4. Let me turn the loop level down. Yeah. Let's go play A minor pentatonic. You start trying to sing your lines, and I think there's a real connection between your hands and your physical playing. And I always think I sound better when I do that. The cool thing is, is that it doesn't always, doesn't always come through your mic. I mean, you guys are hearing it now. But there's a jazz pianist named Keith Jarrett. And it literally sounds like he's dying a slow death when he's playing solos. He's like, and it's because he's singing what he's playing, and I like to do that. Thankfully, I've been in recording sessions before where people slowly start to go. I'll be playing and they'll go, "What is he doing?" Because I'm like, I'm kind of like mouthing the notes that I want to play, and that connection just seems to make it, I don't know, a little bit more human-like, a little bit more vocal-like, and you run out of breath, so you gotta go. Breathe. Yeah, and follow my breathing forces, create spaces in my playing. Yeah, but breathing really helps connect everything. I saw, I think Jason asked about using guitars with trem arms. Man, I love tremolos. And you're right, you haven't seen me play them very often, but I love Bigsby's are my favorite, and I know they're crazy. I've had people try to talk me out of putting them on guitars before, but I'll tell you what I did, which is really cool, which is why these live streams are so darn fun, is because when you guys ask me questions like that, you never know what I've been up to. Okay, that's live. Great. I'm going to take this, because I have all these PRSs ready to go for my event at TrueFire. Then this guitar came with the bridge, it was stopped. Oh, sorry. And what happens is, this John Mayer model, there's not even a backplate on it. You know, there it is. So I went, I started asking my tech, I said, because I have a couple different guys that work on my guitars, and I like to work on them too, just enough to get in trouble. I actually ordered I got some tools from StewMac today that came in the mail, which is pretty cool. I figured since I had time, I'd change the strings on a bunch of things and try to change some necks and whatnot. And my favorite tech, I have two favorite techs in town. This guy named Jared Peterman in Nashville. He's a touring guy, but he builds really cool guitars too. And he sent me this video of Carl Verheyen and how he likes to set his Strat up. Now check this out. Look at how that claw is angled, and he's using 3 strings. A lot of people like to use 4 strings. A lot of people think more springs. They think more is going to improve the tone. But the Carl Verheyen thing is really cool because he does it so that the G, the E could be, I think it's half step. Yeah. The second string is a whole step. And then the third string is a minor third. So it's kind of like going. And I'm just having a blast with that right now. And I'll tell you, watch this. Staying in tune most of the time. So if you put on kind of like a some fun stuff, but check it out. Pretty much right in tune. Go check out Carl Verheyen. He will make you upset by how good he is. It is insane. You got it, Jason, no problem. I was going to jump into this guitar probably anyway. It's a lot of fun. And I'll probably hang on for another 5 minutes, take a break, because I got to get set up for the TrueFire live stream I'm doing. I think I'm at 3:45. I hadn't checked with them. They wanted me on at 3, and I was like, guys, my live stream goes from 2 to 3. So thankfully, they changed. I think David's going on first, and then I think it's me, then Tony. It could be the other way around. And yes, Carl's amazing. Let's look at a couple more questions I want to chat with you guys. And let's see here. Oh, thanks, Scooter Man. 55, I appreciate that. Can you go over the spring setup again? Sure, Jackson, no problem. Let me go back to my camera just so I know what I'm doing. What he did, what Carl Verheyen did was he put, this had 4 springs. I took one out. Carl takes his, and it's on YouTube, go check it out. Just type Carl Verheyen tremolo, I'm sure you'll find it, or Strat. 3 springs, and notice how he has that angled. He has this, the claw is angled. And what's cool is it definitely allows for a softer pull on these higher strings, and then this middle one will give you, I use that as my judge. If that gets me up to a B flat from a G, I know that I'm pretty much in the ballpark, and I'm gonna watch my tuner. Man, it's almost right in tune. And I'll hit it again. It's pretty close. It's a little sharp on the B flat, but that's okay. It still gets me in the ballpark. But when I was setting up the guitar, I really had it nailed. And you don't really have to worry about the 6th string and 5th and 4th too much. But that's also sort of that minor 3rd as well. And I can feel them. I probably need to lube the nut a little bit. I can feel the strings moving. But still in tune. I mean, shocking, right? And I'm still not done tweaking the neck. I took the cap off the truss rod there. So yeah, I'm enjoying this guitar. Like, hey, Joe Petrocelli, thanks for being here. Thanks for the tip. Awesome. That's really, really nice. And I see Ron, longtime PRS fan. You know, this guy's been a student of mine for a long time, waving the PRS flag. And I do it for them because they do it for me. They sought me out and they said, hey, we want to help you out. We'll send you a guitar or two. Here we are. So guys, any other question? We're going to be signing off here. I'll be checking in with TrueFire here momentarily just to make sure that everything else is going fine. Sorry, guys, we've been in and out of buffering today, and it's the nature of the internet. It's not perfect. We got a 100-foot Ethernet cord going across my house. I got some of the the finest audio gear on the planet. Everything sounds good in here, trust me. But yeah, so I'll tell you what, I'm gonna jump off, guys. Hey, thanks, Rex. Good to see you back. Appreciate it here. And if don't be shy. If you wanna, if you don't want to say hello here, that's cool. No problem. Stop by and see me, on my website. Say hello, and let's just keep us being inspired and having fun during these times. So yeah, thanks everybody. Hey Miguel, good to see you. All right, everybody, I'll see you back on the TrueFire site in about 45 minutes. TrueFire's YouTube channel. Okay, thanks so much. See you next week. And oh, by the way, if you got any ideas that you want to see on a live stream for Thursday, email me, put them in some comments. Let's do it. This is for you guys. All right, we'll see you then. Take care.